This is the 50th video for my eShop web application project. Here we are going to program the product selling history page, including product searching and daily product selling process. This is the code for my selling history page. Here at the top, I've given a PHP script inside which I've given session start require connection.php, and then I've given an if condition to check whether if an admin is in session. Otherwise, an echo will come from the server side as you are not a valid user. In the table body, at the top, I've given a PHP script and I've given a search query to the invoice table. And I've made a new variable $page number. Then I've given an if condition. If a page is set, then $page number will be equal to that page. Otherwise, $page number will be equal to 1. I've stored the search query to the invoice table as $invoice_rs, and I've made a new variable $results per page and given it the value 20. Then I've taken $number of pages by the seal of the division of $invoice number by $results per page. Then I've devised $page results, and I've added to the search query limit $results per page and offset $page results, and I've stored it as $results_rs. Then I've given a for loop inside which I've put the body of the table. In this for loop, I've given a search query to the product table where the ID is equal to product ID of $selected data, and another search query to the user table where the email is equal to the user email of $selected data. Then I've echoed the product ID, title, buyer's first name and last name, product price and quantity. For the button, depending on the status of the product, I've given if conditions to change the inner HTML of the button as well as the color of the button. For each button, I've given an on-click event change invoice status. Inside brackets, I've echoed the product ID, and I've given IDs for each button as BTN and the product ID. This is the function change invoice status. Here I've made the new XML HTTP request and stored it as var r. Then I've sent this ID to the server side using the get method to the change invoice status process.php file by the name ID. This is the change invoice status process.php file. Here inside PHP scripts, I've given require connection.php and then an if condition to check whether if the ID have been sent to the server side. Otherwise, an echo will come saying something went wrong. In this if condition, I've stored the ID that was sent as $invoice ID, and I've sent a search query to the invoice table where the ID is equal to $invoice ID. I've stored the status of $invoice data as $status ID, and I've made a new variable $new status and given it the value 0. Then I've made this if ladder. If $status ID is 0, an update query is sent to the invoice table to set the status as 1, and $new status will be 1. If $status ID is 1, then status will be updated to 2 and $new status will be 2. If status ID is 2, then it will be updated to 3 and $new status will be 3. If status ID is 3, then it will be updated to 4 and $new status will be 4. Then I've given an echo of $new status. In the JS side, I've stored the response text from the server side as T. Then I've given this if ladder. If T is equal to 1, inner HTML of the button will be changed to packing and the class list will be changed to BTN warning. If T is 2, inner HTML will be changed to dispatched and class list will be changed to BTN info. If T is equal to 3, inner HTML will be changed to shipping and class list will be changed to BTN primary. If t is equal to 4, inner HTML will be changed to delivered and class list will be changed to BTN danger and disabled. Otherwise, the response from the server side will be displayed as an alert. In my selling history page, we have a search bar to search by invoice ID. For the input field of that search bar, I've given an on key up search invoice ID and I've given it an ID search ID. This is the search invoice ID function. Here I've grabbed the value of the input field and stored it as var text. Then I've made the new XML HTTP request and stored it as var r, and I've sent this text to the server side using the get method to the search invoice ID process.php file by the name ID. This is the search invoice process.php file. Here inside PHP scripts I've given require connection.php and an if condition to check whether if the ID was sent to the server side. Otherwise, an echo will come saying invalid invoice ID. Then I've stored the ID that was sent as $invoice ID and I've given a search query to the invoice table where the ID is equal to $invoice ID. Then I've given another if condition to check whether if there is an invoice in the invoice table with that particular ID. And I've given a search query to the product table where the ID is equal to product ID of $invoice ID. And I've given another search query to the user table where the email is equal to user email of $product data. I've closed the PHP script and I've put the body of the table here and I've echoed the details of the product by $invoice data, $product data and $user data. In the JS side, I've stored the response from the server side as var t, and in my selling history page, for the main div of the body of the table, I've given the ID view area, and in the JS code, I've changed the inner HTML of view area as t. In my selling history page, at the top, I also have two input fields for from date and to date and a button find. For the input field of from date, I've given an ID from, and for to date, I've given an ID to. For the button find, I've given an on-click event find sellings. This is the find sellings function. Here I've grabbed the values of the input fields from and to and stored it as var fd and td. Then I've created new XML HTTP request, stored it as var r, and I've sent these values to the server side using the get method to the find sellings process.php file by the name f and t. This is the find sellings process.php file. Here inside PHP scripts, I've given require connection.php. Then I've given an if condition to check whether if the values have been sent to the server side. I've stored these values as $from and $to. Then I've given a search query to the invoice table and I've opened a for loop. Then I've made the variable $sold date and taken the date from $invoice data and stored it as $sold date. Then I've exploded $sold date by the space and stored it as $date. I've taken the zeroth array of $date and stored it as $d. Then I've given two if conditions. If $from is not empty and $to is empty and $from is less than $d, I've closed the PHP script and here I've put the table body. Again, I've opened a PHP script and given else if $from is empty and $to is not empty and $2 is greater than $d. I've closed the PHP script and I've again put the table body. I've opened the PHP script again and $from is not empty and $2 is also not empty and $from is lesser than $d and $2 is greater than $d. I've closed the PHP script and again put the table body. In the JS side, I've stored the response from the server side as var t and I've changed the inner HTML of view area as t.